And I have to tell you that, unfortunately, next week we're skipping. I'm sorry. But so this is the first Thursday Night Live we've had in a long time. But next week won't be a Thursday Night Live. But then we should be able to finish the rest of the month, I think. Okay. So we were talking earlier, and I want to tell you this. We're almost out of the month of Tevet. Tevet, the month of Tevet, is the month, that the walls of Jerusalem were breached in the destruction both of the first and the second temples. It's always a month of harsh blows. And I'm ready for it to be over. I'm really ready for it to be over. But Shvat is coming. Tomorrow night, Rosh Chodesh begins actually on Shabbat. And so when the sun goes down tomorrow, begins Rosh Chodesh Shabbat. And I'm ready for it. Okay.
So during the month of Tevet, he brought Israel plentiful rain.
Yes, but he also brought them a lot of harsh blows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Listen, can't you see it? I'm just thinking, Yonah in his knee surgery and his heart attack. Pua Morrill up in Massachusetts, her appendix burst. She almost lost her life. I'm serious. It was a very, very touch-and-go thing, and spent weeks in the hospital there getting over it. Rabbi Richmond's son-in-law, Gedalia, is arrested and imprisoned for about 4 days before he ever saw a judge, and now the police have all kinds of charges on him, which are absolutely, totally out of this world ridiculous. It's crazy. The Arabs have been getting away with more and more and more nonsense and craziness. It's absolutely unbelievable what's going on in the state of Israel, and what's going on the national scene. The UN recognized them as a country, as a state, which is absurd. And we could just go on and on and on. Even the rains, they've not been gentle things. These have been terrible storms. We need the water. We depend on the water. But they've caused a tremendous amount of damage. And when it snows in Jerusalem, it's kind of like if it snowed in Laredo. Do you think anybody would know how to drive? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. So when it snows in Jerusalem, it becomes a very dangerous place. And so it would be like snowing in Laredo, and thousands of crazy people are on the road and don't have one clue how to drive on it. So it's beatings with a blessing, and I'm not even the list goes on. I just can't think of everything right now that's happened in this last month. It's been really something else. And so Shvat, Rabbi Richmond, our rabbi, lost his offices. He had to move.
He had to move.
He had to move out of his offices, and he actually even got kicked from there a month early. He knew he was losing them, and he was getting another place prepared, but he got kicked a month early. So we're talking about the Marty Morrill studio in Jerusalem, on the street, with nowhere to go. He's just now getting a place that he could renovate it. They had to renovate it to be able to move into it. It's been crazy. It had to do with the lease and the owner not understanding when they were leaving, or they thought that they had another month and they actually didn't. I don't know. But it was craziness. It was absolutely insane. And but thank God Shvat is coming, and so that will be a wonderful thing. Okay. So You have to
remember everything is for the good.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Not just finish the garden of gratitude.
Absolutely, no. Even when God gives you a whipping, it's the same way. You don't beat your own children to screw them up. Yeah, absolutely. So everything is always for the good, and it's even though that's extremely difficult for us to understand sometimes. No, we don't see the whole picture, and we're not looking at it. We're looking at it with very narrow blinders. and from our own personal perspective, not from heaven's perspective, not from God's perspective, which is eternity. And because, when a soul locked in this body is very, very concerned with, and rightfully so, with this period of time that he has to live, that he has to get from point A to point B, and it's not so easy. But Hashem knows it's not so easy. What's even worse is, he hides himself completely from us and all of that. But it's all part of the challenge to wake up and rediscover who you are and where you came from and all of that. By the way, I want to say one thing before we wrap things tonight. I'm teaching on a number of different levels, and one of the levels that we're teaching on down in the class in San Angelo on food for the soul has to do with really the separation of a soul from Hashem. It has to do with the Holy One, blessed be He, and His Shekhinah, okay? It has to do with Zer Anpin, in Kabbalistic terms, Zer Anpin and Malkut, and our Adam and the prototype of it all, the picture he really gives us is Adam and Chava, and how they're separated and how they're in a back-to-back relationship, and then they come face-to-face, but Chava is very reduced, and then she grows and reduces again, and finally the idea is to come to full stature, where they it's now a relationship, not of need. It's not a needy relationship. It's a love relationship. That has affected some people to think that because of the Kabbalistic teaching, that your divine soul, this is going to take longer than that. We just have to tell him it's going to take longer. That your divine soul is a part of Hashem, Chelek Hashem, That's caused some people this idea to think that, oh, well, I'm Hashem. Right, and that's absolutely insane. And any of those things we teach should never be taken in such a way at all. The idea is the parable of the sun and the moon, and this is what we have to concentrate on. When the Arizal talks about, or the teaching on the sun and the moon, the Midrash on the sun and the moon, not a parable, or parables are in the Midrash, but anyway, the Midrash that how they can't wear the same crown, that even with the restoration of the moon, she still has no light of her own. She still is just a reflector. So no matter how close we come to Hashem, we're still female in that sense. We have no, we can only give what we receive. We're the moon. We can only reflect. So we have to understand that, and this all comes, this was part of the big controversy, was actually between the Hasidim of the Baal Shem Tov, the Vilna Gaon, of what became to be called the Mitnagdim, the opponents of the Hasidim. And we can see a lot of things. The Hasidim concentrated on the love of Hashem. The Mitnagdim under the Vilna Gaon concentrated on the duty. See, we saw both these things playing against itself, even in Rabeinu Bachya. They're really two sides of the same coin. We have a duty to Hashem, and with God's help, eventually, with His help and study, we'll come to love Him. We'll come to finally fulfill that last commandment, okay? But that's not what the real controversy was really all about. It was the Vilna Gaon, because the Hasidic movement made very, very popular the teaching, that your soul comes from Hashem. It's part of Hashem. Everybody wants to be a masterpiece because you are a piece of the master. And the Vilna Gaon said the common people will misunderstand that. And they will begin to think the idea of pantheism, because we know the Shekhinah is actually in everything, in a sense, everything that's in creation, because it doesn't exist of its own. It comes because Hashem creates it, but it's still not really separate from Him. And this is the idea that was misunderstood. These same Kabbalistic ideas that were misunderstood by people like that came to establish Hinduism. Islam is also, to an extent, the same way. But Hinduism, the American Indians, who, this is an ancient idea. I mean, this goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. It's a Kabbalistic idea. But if it's misunderstood, then you can start thinking everything is a God. Well, that's total idolatry to think that there's any other power other than Him. Okay? It's total idolatry to think that the tree out in your front yard is somehow inhabited by a God. This is crazy. So the Vilna Gaon really opposed the Hasidic movement, even though he saw the unbelievable power of it and truth of it, because common people would misunderstand. Well, since I've been teaching those lessons down there, I've found out that that's true. You have to be very, very careful in your explanations. So that's why I'm giving you this spiel right now, just because of things that I've become aware of. That does not take away from the fact that the Hasidic teaching that a person's divine soul, the upper soul, the mochin, the brains, okay, that it's part of Hashem, that it comes directly from Him, and that it's separated from Him by a will to receive. But it's that will to receive that makes a person less than Him, okay? Because the only thing we can give is what we receive. So the way I'm teaching it now, I mean, I'm just making sure that I tell everybody, no matter how close you come to Hashem, no matter how close you grow in that stature that it's talking about, Malkut growing in that stature, you're still the moon. No matter what. You'll never be the sun. You're still the moon. You may grow in stature equal to the sun, but you're still the moon. We're creations. We're creatures, not the Creator. And so I'm having to pound that a little bit. Anyway, so I got that off my chest. Now I'm finished.
So, back to back and face to face, these lessons that you've taught in St. Angelo that we've been learning from.
They're good, aren't they? They're wonderful.
We can't wait to get more.
Well, you're going to have to wait a little while. Yeah.
I just had to throw that in there. But anyway,
I tell you what, watch them over and over again.
we do.
Yeah.
For me, this explains exactly what was taking place with Moshe. When, you know, in the Torah it says, no man has seen me and lived.
Right.
Face to face. No man has seen. But when Moses comes face to face to God,
He says he speaks with him face. He speaks with him face to face.
principle, right?
Because of his stature, yes. But Moses was the most humble person in all the world.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the reasons he's that way. Moshe Rabeinu had no doubt that he was the moon.
Absolutely.
Okay? And this is, see, to me, this is part of the key. Part of the key is to develop within yourself what Rabeinu Bachya was talking about tonight, and what all the great Kabbalistic masters talk about developing the intention that everything you do is to serve Hashem, that everything you do is to please Him, even the breath you breathe. Okay? This is what, by the way, for Christians in the New Testament, this is the idea when Paul talks about praying continuously. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about that you're constantly asking God for stuff. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the continual prayer is, even in the breath you take, that you breathe in order to please God, in order to serve Him.
And that has been so misunderstood.
So many things so misunderstood.
Anybody that prays for stuff, how can you take it with you? It doesn't make sense.
You know, believe it or not, that is actually what Rabeinu Bachya is going to talk about in his conversation between the mind and the soul in the very next lesson that we do. It has to do with this world or the next world. It has to do with all those things. No, look, we do pray for him for everything that we need. And we should. We should pray for him about everything. You know, Rabbi Nachman talks about, he says, you know, we make a little money, we go to the store and we buy some clothes. And we have the idea that we did that. He said, and we didn't pray to God about it, and we didn't thank Him afterwards. And he says, and that's what an animal does. This is what Rabeinu Bachya was talking about earlier, that Hashem will reduce you to where you're just moving along like that, and that's just the same way an animal does. And he says, no, you should ask him for everything. If you need new clothes, ask him. Okay, so you worked a little bit, you made a little money, you went, but you still need to thank him because you wouldn't even been able to work if he hadn't give you the ability. You wouldn't have made the money. On and on and on. This is the idea of everything going on has to do with pleasing Hashem. And believe it or not, even in this is the secret of Judaism. The secret of Judaism is there's nothing in your life, nothing, that is separated from God. Nothing. And this is the idea. So I'm just harping on this right now because, and also that stop concentrating and judging other people. Start working on yourself. We need to judge ourselves. We need to evaluate ourselves daily. Develop a discipline about it, and then begin to develop the discipline of having an inner intention of everything we think, say, and do is in order to please Him and serve Him. Even in things that we wouldn't normally connect having pleasing to Him or serving Him. Not going and buying a new pair of pants. Believe it or not, if we have the intention of serving Him with that and pleasing Him with that, it does.
Just by thanking Him.
No, we haven't got to the thanking yet. The intention before you go. The intention in the act. The intention before the act. That it will be pleasing to Him and serve Him. Then afterwards thank Him.
What happens if you...
I'm adding extra obligations on you. Sorry about that. No. So you would say something if we were off the internet, but if we're on the internet, you're not going to say it?
What?
If that's the case, we'll keep the internet on all the time.
That word was analogously.
Huh?
It was analogously.
Oh, right.
I'm not even going to try it. Go ahead. Now, what are you trying to say, Tony? And then we have to get off the air.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, for me personally, a lot of times, like when you get out and you go out to do your errands and stuff, it's usually, thank you, Hashem, thank you, Hashem. So I need my intentions to go prior to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know this is a new level of obligation I'm putting on you, but I'm telling you, this is an essential thing. It really and truly is an essential thing to develop the habit of having the intention in whatever it is. And as a result, we wake up more and more and we stop taking things for granted. And if you change yourself, you'll change the world. If you change yourself, you'll change the world. That's the key. The whole idea of, I have to change those people, that's a total distraction. That's the Yetzer Hara keeping you from ever working on yourself, which is the real key to changing everybody else. Okay. I know you're getting tired of hearing that, but I'm probably going to be beating on it for a long time.
Anybody else have a question? Well, I
Okay.
do, because
okay.
I've got to get...
Go ahead. Go for it, Tony.
I
Go.
won't sleep tonight.
Okay. Well, then ask.
Because we just came through this period.
Uh-huh.
What do you, as a Jew, say to people all over town when they say Merry Christmas? How do you respond?
Thank you.
Yes.
I usually say also to you.
It was so funny. I was in Junk Warehouse, and
What did you say? Happy Hanukkah? See, how can I say I can't say Happy Hanukkah to them because they don't keep Hanukkah.
sometimes I have though. Sometimes.
Okay, but usually I say also to you. If they want to tell me Merry
That's
Christmas,
what I say.
they're not doing it. It's not in any. This is not some underhanded thing on they don't even know I'm Jewish so it's not some underhanded thing or an insult or anything like that. I don't take it that way.
I was in Junk Warehouse.
Oh, cool. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had bought something for our grandchildren.
In the junk warehouse.
Come
Okay.
at it?
No, but I had laid my keys down on the counter, just like this.
Uh-huh.
So the Star of David was showing, right? And of course, I wasn't paying any attention to it. And after I paid for my purchase and everything, the young lady says, "Merry Christmas." And I said, "And happy holidays to you." And she says, "Oh." And she started pointing. I said, "Excuse me?" And
So then did she tell you Happy Hanukkah?
she says, "You're Star of David. Are you Jewish?" And I said, "Yes." Yes, I'm not explaining myself no more.
Yeah, okay.
I said, "Yes." And you should have, even the owner of the store,
She
she
come in
says,
there.
"Oh, I am so sorry." And I said, "You don't
Yeah,
have to
don't be sorry."
apologize." I said, "That's okay. It's fine, you know." And I started walking out of the store, and the owner of the store said, "And you handled that beautifully." And I turned around and I said, "Well, thank you. It's no problem at all." You know,
So you handled it beautifully.
yeah, I was just wondering,
So were you testing me or something? I mean,
was I arrested?
no, was this a test? I mean,
Was
no, go ahead.
it, certain people,
I
that
think you
doesn't-
did well.
Because you can tell when people do it in innocence.
Yeah.
And they just don't know. But there's other people, like perhaps a brother or a sister or somebody like that,
Now-
will say, "No.
That has a whole different case and an intention to it.
Okay, yeah.
But we're talking about strangers or, stuff like that. No, that has a different intention to it. But I'm going to tell you, I would let it run right off my back.
I do.
And I would just say also to you.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
kind of what I say.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wondered how you handle it, because you're probably really in the thick of things,
No, I'm actually becoming a hermit. I'm staying out of the line of fire in every way that I can.
Okay.
Just lately, I've just gotten too old or something. I don't know. Anyway,
We all have.
yeah, I think that's it, Andrea. I wasn't really wanting you to agree with me.
You read on one of your lessons that there's a spirit of stupidness.
Oh,
A
absolutely.
spirit of stupidity
Yep.
taking over the world. I think there's a lot more other spirits too,
Sure.
like weariness and fed upness.
Okay. Let me say shalom to the internet audience, to the people who watch on the internet or over the Roku. Shalom, shalom to you, and we really thank you for joining us, and I hope it's beneficial to you. I'm sorry I'm not doing longer than 30 minutes, but there's reasons for that, and with God's help, maybe we'll do longer soon. Okay. Anyway, so I really thank you for coming and joining us, and I hope it was a blessing to you and an enjoyment to you. Shalom uvracha to you, peace and a blessing. And shalom uvracha to all the class here, peace and a blessing, and I'm shutting it down now.